Hey everybody, it's Matt Robinson. Welcome to another edition of the Writer's Block. We've had a lot of amazing authors, as our fans know, but if I had $1 for every author who asked me how to market their book, I could retire. So fortunately, we found the perfect combination. We have an author who also is a professor of marketing and has written a number of amazing books about marketing, including one that's soon going into its second edition, which we'll get to, of course. This is Christina Inge. She is the Harvard instructor who won the Business Professor of the Year in 2021. She's written 3 marketing textbooks that are used by schools around the world. She is the co-founder of the Marketing Metrics Association, an international speaker who had recent engagements at the Sorbonne in Paris and is also taught, as we said, at Harvard, also Northeastern. Just does everything around writing and marketing. Really a privilege and a pleasure to have her. Welcome to the show, Christina.
Thank you for inviting me on, Matt. It's great to be here.
So how did you first get into marketing? What interested you about that particular lane of the business world?
Well, like yourself, I started out as a journalist. I was a lifestyle journalist focusing on education, actually, as my beat. And I branched out into home decor, home publications. And from there, I made the dive into the publishing industry, working for a publishing house, Reed Elsevier. But in their marketing department, it was extremely random. They needed somebody to work in their market research department, translating their market research into insights that they could publish. So it felt still like publishing, but it was really working for the market research department. And I loved it from the moment I got in there because, first of all, they paid me more than writing. So I liked that part. I really enjoyed the being paid more. And I enjoyed also the applicability of what I was doing. A lot of times when you write an article, you write a book, you don't know who's reading it, you don't know the impact it's having, but with working in marketing, you were immediately seeing the impact on the business. And so I really got bitten by the marketing bug in that job. It only lasted about a year before the publishing industry suffered yet another huge wave of layoffs. So I then got another job at a startup as their marketing manager. And that taught me so much about all the other non-research areas of marketing, creative design, which I already had a background in web development, content development, advertising, SEO. I became a voracious attendee of marketing events. It's how I got involved in the American Marketing Association, where I've been involved for now 20 years. And I just, every single day since then, and it's been a 22-year career, always learn a new thing about marketing. And it's that depth of what you can do and the impact and the way curiosity is so well rewarded in marketing with impact that has kept me a passionate marketer since then.
So just to give our viewers a little context, how would you define marketing and perhaps how do you distinguish it from public relations and sales?
A great question. I define marketing as communicating the value of an organization or of an idea or a product to the people who could most benefit from knowing about that, whether it's a product or an idea. Obviously, when we look at the classical definition of marketing, and I teach marketing in a business school, it's about product development, pricing models, and all of those are important. But the day-to-day practical definition of marketing, let's face it, we don't have much say in product development in a lot of organizations. We can be the voice of the customer, that's about it. It is a communications discipline at its heart, and it's about understanding what your customers need and understanding how you deliver that value and then communicating that value. It's different from PR because PR is really letting the media know about what's going on. Sometimes it's about fighting a bad reputation, dealing with a crisis. Other times it's getting the word out, but only through media channels. And that's very different. And then sales is about relationship building. It's about sitting down one-on-one with somebody and understanding what's the product they need, how's my product going to fulfill that, and getting to a negotiated agreement of what are they going to buy from you and how are you going to deliver on that. And so sales is really the ground troops. Marketing is the overarching framework where we understand our customers and we talk about the value. And then PR is a very specialized field of media relations, of getting the mainstream media to sit up and take notice about your brand, or maybe correcting a narrative that you're hearing that is not great for your brand.
Is there overlap, or do you really see them as pretty siloed, or should they be?
There's a huge overlap right now between PR and marketing. In fact, I think that they're getting closer together because of AI. I'm teaching a class on SEO, and it used to all be about marketing and web development and making sure your site had the right metadata. And now, thanks to AI being where more people get their information from, whether it's the AI overviews we're all seeing at the top of Google, or you're directly asking ChatGPT, hey, where should I go on vacation? What are the best deals out there? AI cares about what the media says about you. They care about what influencers say about you. They want credible sources to be endorsing you, and those are all the major AI platforms. So you need good media relations now to be visible to AI, so PR is becoming more critical than ever. In terms of sales, I think that sales can benefit from understanding what the marketing messages are out there, and marketers can benefit from understanding what salespeople are seeing in the field that actual customers are saying to them. So I think sales and marketing need to work together, but I think they're very different skill sets, and it's rare to find somebody who's both a good salesperson and a good marketer.
So despite the oncoming wave of AI, you have made a great deal of your impact through traditional books, including this beautiful right here. What is in Marketing Metrics? What is going to be coming in the second edition? How has it served your larger purpose and goals?
Well, Marketing Metrics is a book that I was actually asked to write. Kogan Page wonderfully reached out to me and said, there's a need in the market for people to understand the metrics that tell you whether your marketing is working. Whether is my content marketing actually moving the needle in terms of generating leads and getting sales, or are my ads actually reaching the right people? That's written not for mathematicians, not for data scientists, but for the creative marketer who needs to understand the metrics. So what you're going to get in Marketing Metrics is a layperson's guide, layperson in the sense that you don't have to be a data scientist, you don't need to know statistics, guide to all of the different marketing data points that help you understand your customers, help you understand your competitive landscape in your market, help you create better marketing messages, and understand if your marketing is working. There are frameworks in there for evaluating your content marketing, for understanding your customers better, and it helps you sort through all of the avalanche of data that we're getting from Google Analytics and our email and our social media. And we get all these data points. What's a CTOR? Why do I know? Why do I care? Is a click-through rate of 8% disastrous, or does it mean my ad was successful? So all of that noise, I help you cut through it and help you understand how to measure your marketing effectiveness, but also how to gather data on your customers and understand their psychology and their needs better.
So as I said at the beginning of the show, it sounds like the perfect thing for our fellow authors too, because we're not data analysts by any stretch, most of us. What was the process? You got this call that there was a need. How is it different writing by request as opposed to writing something kind of that's more organic from your own ideas?
Honestly, it's a little scary because by request, it's like there's a need, and it's more like what I do in my day job as a marketing consultant. So I'm a professor. I still continue to consult with people under my brand Thoughtlight. And when people say, hey, I need a new website, or I need SEO, or now AIO, AI optimization, they have a need, and you better fulfill that request. So there was a need to meet the market. However, I was given a ton of creative freedom. I was able to decide, well, what do people need to know about Marketing Metrics? What are the topics that I want to cover? And then how do I want to cover them, into what depth? So I felt very honored, but also you wanted to do a really great job because you had been entrusted with this, and I wanted to do a really great job. The difference in terms of writing just whatever I feel like, right, and then finding a publisher for it, it's honestly, I liked the structure. I liked having a deadline because that pushes you to keep getting your work done.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a tip that I give to all of my my writing students and other authors, that set a calendar for yourself. So I guess having someone else tell you when it's due, as we're both journalists, the deadlines can be very useful. What will be coming in the new edition that's coming up in a few months?
Well, I'm going to be covering how AI has changed how we understand marketing, and I'm going to be covering how you can use AI to understand your customers better, also how you can use AI to simplify data analysis. Up until now, again, we've had this fire hose of data, and you cut through the noise strategically, but on the ground level, people were still wrestling with Excel, wrestling with things like Looker Studio and other data tools. So I talk about how AI both makes it easier, but also makes it easier to not understand your data because you're just glibly relying on AI. So how to be skeptical about AI, but also how to really integrate it, and what are the good things about AI and the ways in which you can protect yourself from the pitfalls of AI as well.
What would you say is for creatives, for the traditional author, would be your biggest tip about how to grapple with AI?
I would say for the traditional author, from a marketing standpoint, it's really easy to use AI tools to understand your market and hone what you're writing to your market. Now, obviously, there's different kinds of writers. Like you said, you could be writing what you're passionate about and then hope it finds an audience, or in the immortal words of Dr. Samuel Johnson, who said, "None but a blockhead ever wrote but for money." If you're writing to make an income, you want to understand your market. It's like any other product, and you need to think about marketing before you've created your product, your book, right? You can go out and market it afterwards, but it's better to build something people are asking for. So there's tools in AI that will make it easier for you to understand what are people asking for. One underutilized tool is something called deep research in ChatGPT. It's also available, a research tool in Claude. You can ask it to generate a market research report saying, for instance, let's say you're writing a book on organic patio gardening. Understand how many people live in apartments, how many people do patio gardening, what are their ages, what are their interests, what do they grow fruits or vegetables. In the old days, you could have to go down to the library. No knock on libraries. I love libraries. But it would have taken a long time to even understand how big the potential market is for a book. And now AI can do that legwork for you. And traditional publishers always want to know, how big is the market for the book? Who is the market for the book? How are you going to reach it? And AI can help you deliver those answers in record amounts of time. So that's one of, I'd say, the biggest secret weapons an author can use who's following the traditional publishing route, or even self-publishers, if they're doing, if they're really writing their book to reach a market.
Well, you mentioned Chat and Claude. One of the issues that a lot of writers ask me about is, how do you choose which tool to use for which job? Is it really you have the whole menu in front of you and pick and choose, or is it better to focus on one and get to know it better?
I would say focus on one and have that be your home base and get to know it better. And that depends really on what you're using it for. I am a big proponent of Claude. I'm very concerned about equity, representation, and ethics in the business world and in AI and in data. And Claude was built from the ground up to have less bias and also to be more focused on ethics. And I've stress tested it. And it is probably more ethical and more literary. But when it comes to market research, I found that ChatGPT is a better tool for that, or Perplexity. So have your tool that you use to bounce ideas off of, to do your research, but know what tool is best for what. And sometimes it's personal preference, right? It's, I like ChatGPT's market research. Other people might prefer the simpler, shorter market research you get out of Perplexity, and they want to do more of their own deep dive. So it is, my advice is try multiple different tools and find the one that works the best for you.
Makes sense. So your books have been used by thousands of students around the world. What do you think has given that, that breadth, that importance, that you're kind of the go-to for these ideas?
Honestly, it is understanding your market. It's what I said before. It's like you can write from your heart, and if you're a poet, definitely don't write for commercial intent, right? But if you're writing textbooks, you need to understand your market. And I think what I did with both of these books is I knew that there was a huge demand on the business person side, the business student, marketing student side, our wonderful digital media students we have at Northeastern, for a non-data science explanation of data in marketing. So I kept it at the, what do I need to know to apply these metrics versus how do I crunch numbers level? And of course I give you formulas. You can dive deeper into the data science, but I'm not a data scientist. I'm a business person. So speaking to that business level in a way no previous book had done, which was directly a result of doing the market research and knowing that that was the gap. And I think that's where the adoption came from. So my advice to other authors is always try to figure out what the gap is. What are people hungry to learn? What are people hungry to read? What are they hungry to know? And where is there a gap that the book doesn't yet exist that fills that knowledge gap?
How have you found your teaching and your writing support each other?
Oh, it's a virtuous circle. The teaching uses the books. They actually come from, my first book came from my teaching. There was no textbook, so I wrote my own textbook. And then but first I went to a publisher and made sure I get paid for writing my own textbook. I'm not a martyr here. So the teaching inspires the writing, and it's not just, a practical need, I need a textbook for this class. The great questions my students ask me are often things that send me down a rabbit hole where I then write about that thing. And so the books, on the other hand, give me a structure around my teaching. I've organized all my thoughts into the book, and then it becomes a lot easier to put that same structure into the class and guide people step by step because I've already done it once. And that's been very helpful.
So you have your classes, you have your writing, and you went an organization called ThoughtLight. Could you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, so I started ThoughtLight in Boston in 2014, so this is our 12th year. It's a consulting firm. We work with organizations on communicating their value using digital media. So whether that's web design, we do a lot of SEO, AIO, marketing automation. We help you get your message out there, and we help you build the technologies, the marketing technologies that make it easier for you to get your message out there. So we focus a lot on AI strategy. We focus like SEO AI strategy. We also focus on CRM because that takes your marketing data and uses it to personalize and customize your marketing messages to your different customer segments. And that helps a lot of organizations, we found, move the needle and build better relationships and more profitable ones with their customers.
Do you have certain sectors that you prefer working with or find more success, or are you agnostic?
We've done a lot of work with consumer packaged goods. I never thought I'd be in consumer packaged goods. I always thought of myself as a tech marketer, but consumer goods companies liked our approach and they found us. So we work with sustainable brands a lot, organic brands from pet food to personal care are a big one for us, and we also do a fair amount of higher ed marketing.
Which brings you back to your original writing world.
Exactly.
Wow.
So it all knits very nicely together.
Wow. Okay. So, do you work with ThoughtLight with the same schools you're teaching at?
No. But sometimes I will come in as ThoughtLight and help an organization with their marketing, and they'll like my marketing so much that then when they need a marketing professor, they're like, hey, why don't we have the marketing lady do it? So that actually happened to me with Brandeis University. I was doing marketing for a couple of programs and departments there, and then they hired me to teach marketing in their MBA and social impact program.
So there is some cross-pollination that goes on occasion.
Always cross-pollination.
So getting back to this book and to what a wonderful guide it could be for our fellow writers, what are some of the main analytics points and lessons? Like, distill it further. Obviously, we want everyone to read it, and they will, but what are some of the gems they're going to find when they do? Well,
first and foremost, I've got a whole chapter on understanding your content marketing performance. It's geared towards brands, but here are the things that authors, because as an author you need to think of yourself as a brand too, can take away. First of all, always be publishing small micro amounts of content, whether it's like an 800-word blog post or a longer hot take on LinkedIn. And then every month, take a moment and look at the analytics around what topics are resonating with your readers. What's getting not just the most likes, because likes can be a function of you put a cat photo with it, right? What are people commenting on? What are the questions? if you post a blog post every week, what are the blog post topics that get the most clicks and that people scroll to the bottom of the page and actually read the whole thing? Those are going to tell you what your readers want to read. What are they actually reading right now? So look at those metrics and map them to what are the topics that they're pointing to. And then look at changes over time. Is AI maybe less exciting this year than it was last year? Are people more concerned now about ethics, which is something I'm seeing? One of my best blog posts performance right now has been around privacy-centric ways of measuring consumer data, measuring consumer behavior. So privacy is becoming really exciting to people, at least on my blog. So look at the topics. Then look at where your traffic is coming from. Are they coming in from social media? Are they coming in from inbound links that are pointed at you from someone who was generous enough to talk about you on their blog? Where are your readers finding you? And a lot of times people will go crazy on social media and post all the time and they'll get a lot of engagement, but they haven't made one sale from social media. They haven't even gotten more than 10% of their web traffic from social media, but they're knocking themselves out on social. And I'm not saying don't do it, but look at your most productive channels. And my third piece of advice, having looked at the analytics for hundreds of organizations, from Fortune 500 companies to individual authors like ourselves, email is a must-have. Have an email list. Yeah, everybody's got an email list and nobody wants another email. But you know what? If people care enough to subscribe to your emails, they are reading your stuff if you send it out regularly. Have an email list, and then once you do, send regularly and look at what people click on and then give them more of that. If they're reading articles about, organic vegetable gardening, write more about that, because that's what they want to read. And, at the end of the day, there's always a balance between art and meeting our public where they are, and every author has to decide where they want to go with that. But if you're meeting your readers' needs, you are doing them a service. You don't want to think about it as I'm, abandoning my creative integrity. You're doing people a service by writing what they want to read.
Even if it takes you away from your original intention?
Well, if you're not passionate about it, then don't. But presumably, if you're passionate about a subject and there are different aspects of it that are interesting, and there's one, on the other hand, that your readers really need that info, try to double down on that. But again, this is within what your core topic is. If your readers suddenly want to read about yogurt making and you're a gardening writer, you're not going to go over into writing about yogurt making.
Right. But you might be able to talk about when to pick the raspberries to add to your yogurt.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So keep your vision wide.
Exactly.
And be adaptable.
Adaptable. Exactly.
So speaking of adapting, you have the new version of the book coming out. You have your classes. What are, you do so many things. What are your next projects? Is there something that you still would like to do that you haven't been able to get to yet?
I have so many people emailing me when my classes launch saying, darn, I don't have the time to take the class this semester. When is it running again? Or it filled up. Can you let in 2 or 3 more people? So there's more demand to learn about marketing and AI, and marketing analytics and AI adaptations for SEO, then I can meet with my courses. So what I'm doing is I'm opening the courses up to the public. I'm creating both live and self-paced versions of my most popular courses. Different, of course, I have to say, disclaimer, they're not going to be exactly the same thing that Harvard is charging money for or Northeastern. They're going to be adapted for the self-learner, the professional learner, and they're going to be, however, available to people on a more flexible schedule to meet the demand for people who don't need a degree, don't need to go into that level of depth, just need to know what they need to know, don't need to know it on a graduate school level. They just need to know it on a practical level. And so I'm making the practical versions of those courses so that I can reach more people with them.
Where can people find those?
If you go to my website, thoughtlight.net, THOUGHTLIGHT.net, or follow me on LinkedIn. I welcome connections from viewers on LinkedIn. I will be posting those updates there. You can also subscribe to my newsletter, Marketing, Analytics, and AI Digest, and you can find that on my LinkedIn as well.
Wow, so much to do and so helpful to me as a writer, to all of our viewers. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Christina, for joining us. And thank you, folks, for coming back to the Writer's Block. We hope to see you again soon.